Okay, hi everyone. Let's get started. Hopefully you're all here for the Android app. That's why I'm here also. My name's Paul, and I moved here from Seattle just a few weeks ago to start a code school. So a little bit about my background. I went to grad school at the University of Washington in Seattle, and I taught for a year as a college professor at the Evergreen State College in Olympia, which is the state capital of Washington. And I taught undergraduate computer science, but there was always a disconnect because I felt like people wanted to learn how to do practical things and how to get jobs, make changes in their career. And a lot of college was, really expensive and also steered them in a different direction, to be academics or professors or research scientists, but it's not what everyone was looking for. And so I left the college. I taught at a code school called Code Fellows for a while in Seattle. And that was much more direct. I was working with people and they actually wanted to make things in life. And so that was satisfying. But then I also noticed that I really wanted to practice what I preached. I also wanted to start my own company, and I also wanted to help students more directly. And so here I am to start my own code school. I moved here to be with my sister also, but mostly to start on this new venture. So thanks for coming to my first workshop here in Chandler in Arizona. And the goal of today is to get you to write your first Android app. You may have been thinking about it for a while. You may have owned an Android app, but now you're going to stop being just a user, right? Not just a consumer. You're actually going to make something, and afterwards your identity will be changed, and hopefully this will give you the momentum you need to start your own business, your own ideas, because everyone has an idea for an app, right? And here are some clues on how you might get started. So to start with, we're going to all sync up on the same place online. Slack is a real-time chat app. It's used by a lot of software companies. I'm definitely a big fan. This is where we're going to keep in touch both after the workshop is over, and then also to share links and share screenshots and commiserate with each other and celebrate with each other online. So unfortunately, there's no easy way around this. I wish I could come around and give you this link more easily, but go ahead and type this into your browser. It's invisible slack.herokuapp.com and sign up. So the password for the Wi-Fi is walk the plank, all one word, lowercase. And the Wi-Fi network is Gangplank? It's just Gangplank.
Yes.
Yeah, let me type that up here too. And we have one internet viewer so far who can hear me but not see me yet. So welcome, 3 internet viewers. Thanks for joining us. We only got started a few minutes late due to some technical difficulties, so thanks for bearing with us. As everyone can tell, some of you are joining, you're here in person with me in Chandler, Arizona. 3 people at least are joining me over the internet. We have people sign up from as far away as India. Actually, I think they may all be from India, but if you are from different places, feel free to give us a shout out. You'll need to join our Slack team first by going to this URL.
Now, is this required if we have people on the agency's team that they have Slack to be able to participate?
It's not required at all. This is where we're going to be sharing links. If you're part of a family, which I'm happy if you are because this is a family tree app, only one of you can sign up and then pass on this information to other people. Yeah.
Okay. Sorry.
Yeah. No, I understand. I have younger cousins and nieces and nephews, and I am very nervous about the day they get Facebook accounts and exposed and be exposed to the internet. So I totally get it. So for those of you just joining us, this is the Wi-Fi Password Online. Welcome. This is the Android workshop. And once you sign on, you're going to register your email address, and then you're going to get an invite in your email. So after entering in your email address, check your email, click on the invite link, and eventually you are going to get to a window that looks like this in your browser. There's going to be a list of channels on the left-hand side. And there's going to be chat from everyone appearing here. And you can participate just by typing in the blank here. But first things first. Does anyone have questions or need help for this first part? Enter this link into your browser, enter in your email address, check your email, click on the link, and then finally you'll be able to talk to each other. People on the internet, people here, people have taken the past workshop. So in Slack in the future, after this workshop is over, you may want to continue learning, right? You may want to know, how do I keep in touch with Paul and all these cool people that I met today? Well, you'll be using Slack mostly. The other main technique we'll be using today is mob programming. So who here has heard of pair programming? Cool, some people. So pair programming is when 2 people sit next to each other and one person is the driver. The driver types on the keyboards naturally, and then the navigator sits next to them and sometimes heckles and kibits, but mostly provides useful advice, right? Like thinks at a high level of what goal you're trying to accomplish, and then helps the driver focus on what it is they're trying to do. So that's been shown to be really useful to reduce bugs and increase software quality in actually producing software. But for teaching, it's invaluable. I've used pair programming ever since I started teaching. And you work with another person, you're less likely to get stuck. You're less likely to get bored and check Facebook and your smartphones, even though ironically, we are programming for smartphones here. Yeah, so the generalization of pair programming is mob programming, and that's when everyone in the room works on the same software. So it'll be hard to achieve because you're trying to duplicate your own Android Studio, your own working development environment on your own computers. But as much as possible, one person, I'll have volunteers come up to be the driver. There's still one driver, but then now you have, let's say 20 navigators, 20 people to help you. And when you're the driver, I'm going to ask you to literally come up here and sit at my computer and type it. But don't worry, it's not that stressful. Your only job is to be the secretary. It's everyone else's job, including myself, to tell you what to type, right? And simply by the act of typing, I think you're actually going to cement your learning. More is going to stick in your head. You're going to get more satisfaction. And whenever you hit compile, you actually see the app running. And it's only for, let's say, 5 to 10 minutes at a time. It's very brief. And then you get to choose someone else and swap out. And in that way, learning becomes more fun and social. And that's my main goal here, is for you to have fun and that you'll want to keep learning about Android even after this workshop is over. So today's workshop, what are we going to accomplish? Goals. So one is for you to walk away with a working Android environment. And this may be the slowest part, right? How many people were able to download Android Studio and the SDK before they came? A few people. Good. Don't worry if that's not you. You can do it now, but it might be slower, right? Because now we're sharing the internet connection with 20 people and in video chat. You give it a try. If it becomes too slow. What's that?
I have it on USB if anyone needs it.
Oh, thank you so much. What's your name?
William.
William has the Android tools, the Studio, the integrated development environment, on USB stick. So William, I might ask you to walk around and help people if you don't mind. Install it if you don't have it. If it gets too slow, you can pair up with someone next to you who does have Android Studio, and then we'll keep going. But if that's the only thing you walk away from this workshop having, I would be satisfied, right? Because then you would know when you're at home, you would have something to actually compile and download source code to do. What's the next thing? We're going to write a simple family tree app. So for some of you, this will be your first app. For some of you, it might be your first program that you write ever. How many people have never written a program before? A few people. How many of you have never written an app before? More people. OK, good. So this will be your first app. And by simple, I mean as simple as you can imagine. You're just going to display photos of some family members. They're going to be in squares. And they're going to be on the same app, right? And if we're really fancy, we can have a feature where if you click on the photo, their name will pop up. Then finally, you're going to upload it to the Google Play Store. So it's no good for you to have an app on your own computer, right? You can tell people about it, but seeing is believing. So now you can actually upload it to the Google Play Store. It'll take a few hours for Google to approve it, but then there'll be a link, right? And on your phone, when you search for real legitimate apps that other people have written on the Play Store, now yours will show up, and you can send the link to your friends and family and say, this is what I made. You know, happy holidays, Merry Christmas, whatever holiday that you celebrate. All right, does that sound good, everyone? Yeah. Cool. All right, so to start with, let's see how many people are on Slack. So once you've accepted your invite to Slack, you should see this screen here. And Slack has many different channels. They're like chat rooms. The one we'll be using is called Learn Android. So we'll take a moment here because here we're seeing Bill Horner join. I'm assuming that, hey, Bill. What we want to see, ideally, is all of you join us here, right? So I'm going to take a pause here and walk around. Those of you on the internet, if you haven't already, join our Slack team. I'll leave the instructions up here. And if you haven't downloaded Android Studio, you have the advantage of not being here on the internet, so you can actually use it on your own fat pipes and your own fast internet connections at home. So,
Same when you do USB stuff.
Oh, so this is it's good to mention here. I'm going to zoom in. When you log in, you're going to see this plus button next to channels. And what you want to do is click plus and type Learn Android and then join. Or sorry, create channel. That's misleading. Oh, wait. Sorry, correction. You don't want to create a new channel. You want to join an existing channel. Right, you want to click on the name channels and you'll get this box here, and then you. Did you get it? Do you want to get it? If it's okay for you to use his computer, I'll show you how to do it. Here's the channels. Thanks. You're on it. You want to say this? See, I already had all channels. Did you enter your email address? Well, I'll come back and check on you, or remind me of it. Eileen, to help you if you want.
I don't need that. I'm totally with you. It's just my PC.
Yeah, no, I totally understand. Android Studio might be stressed out.
This thing's stressed out.
That would stress anyone out.
I need a new laptop.
Being 10 years old would stress anyone. Let's enjoy the Slack channel. That's how we all share. You're very close. So we're going to pick our channels here. On the board. No, this one was for future reference. Don't worry, there's ways to choose on this to do this right now. For now, you can just go to the screen and follow along. I'm going to paste the links in with your guys. Yeah. So the other one is just more of you do. And we'll do the stats. Oh, you're downloading Android.
I was just curious. Just so curious.
You Google for Android. It's always Google. So So for those of you who have already successfully joined the Learn Android channel, please just say hello, introduce yourself, and say why you want to learn Android. Why are you here today? Maybe you want to get a new job or try learning a new skill. You want to make a Christmas present, or you're just curious. You're bored on a Saturday. And just yeah, I I have different kinds of USB sticks, so maybe one of these will work for you. So do we need someone to read on the cat sticks and see if they can copy it? Yeah, unfortunately the signal tends to be fake here sometimes. Yeah, so if you're having trouble installing so far, you haven't installed the IDE or you're having trouble communicating to Slack, please pair up. You know, we're using pair programming already with someone sitting next to you who already has the stuff installed. Great. You guys are glad you're all set. I mean, it's nice to know. I like to see people share. How's it going?
So far, you're getting there.
Yeah. Yeah, you are pretty fun. Were you able to join Slack?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I'm on.
Great. Oh, okay. I love teaching students just to know the vast variety of where people come from and why they want to learn Android. So unfortunately, I don't have time to read this now, but I will later get back to you because now you can see who your classmates are, right? You're not just here by yourself, but if you have any problems or help, you know, be sure to look to your left, look to your right. Some of you have already asked people for help, but I believe in social learning and we're going to get to know each other a lot better as we go along. Okay, so next, let's start up Android Studio. I'm using a Mac and I'm using Spotlight. Don't worry if you are still installing it or don't have it installed yet. Again, try budding up with someone while you're waiting for your download to complete.
What version are you using?
I'm using Android Studio 1.5, but any like 1.4 should work. Even 1.3 should work. The versions change very quickly, as I'm sure you've noticed. Like even from the time that I started this workshop, working on this workshop a week ago, there's already a new version of Android Studio that's come out. So don't worry, most of the newer versions won't keep the workshop from working. We don't depend on any of the much newer features. So when you start Android Studio, you'll see the splash screen. And for most of you, if this is the first time, you'll come up with a dialog window asking you what you want to do. And what you want to do is start a new project. Okay, so we'll pause here at this screen. This is the new project screen. After you started up Android Studio, there's going to be, you probably won't have that many projects, but on the left side, you'll see buttons that say, you know, open an existing project, start a new project. You want to start a new project, and here are the different blanks that we should fill in. Show of hands, who's with me? Who's at this spot? Cool, a little less than half. I'll fill in some example blanks. Then I'll walk around and help some more people. So I've decided to call my app Fam Bam just because my last name is Pham. I'm Vietnamese. And so I had a friend once who described my family as Fam Bam. But you can call your app whatever you want. You know, simple family tree, you know, Horner family tree, whatever your last name is. You can also describe your domain however you want up here. Actually, so you may not have a company. My company is the Invisible College, so I'm going to use that, and you are welcome to use it too, because by showing up to this workshop, you're all members of the Invisible College. And then just make sure this is okay. For you, this is the default is fine. It's just where on your computer this project will be created. These are just files after all, and then you can open them later. I'm going to change this slightly.
Yeah, this is Jake.
Have you had a chance to try this? Mine already have Wikipedia on it. That you are able to copy it to this guy and share it. You insert it to the USB drive. Yeah, the newer keys are just like really thin. They literally look like a key. It doesn't even seem like a key. Maybe you can try, if you don't mind copying the two down.
Yeah, application.
I forgot to have lunch. I don't eat all of it. Ask you.
I'm not kidding. Oh. You hear about this thing machine? It's really like the latest game you got to so.
Don't worry, no matter how long it takes now, it'll be way faster.
It was like it doesn't come with like a whole lot of the standard stuff that I'll put in most games, but if you want like the newer games coming out, you're pretty much spending 700 instead of 100. It's probably the only thing on the computer that will work. Everything else is very small.
All right, let's continue. So here is where you specify the minimum version of Android that you are going to support. Every version of Android is a target. It's a different set of libraries. So different widgets you can use, different forms, different styles. But it's best to support as old of an API as you can, just so that more people who have your devices in the wild are able to download and install your app. For us, API 15 is good enough. This doesn't have to be exact. You can choose 14 or 16 or if you want, but 15 is what I normally support as the minimum SDK. And then we're going to create an empty activity, not a blank activity. Sometimes it's nice to have this floating action button, but for now it would be distracting. So we're just going to create an empty activity here, and then we're going to click next. And you may be wondering, what's an activity? An activity is the basic unit of interaction on an Android app. Basically, every screen that you see is an activity on your app. The activity has a layout. The layout is the thing that you actually see and tells you where the buttons and images are laid out. But the activity is the controller, the thing behind the scenes that tells the app how to respond, like what happens when you click one button versus another. That's all in the activity. And whenever you wake up your Android phone, it's basically waking up an activity and switching between different activities. And when you switch apps, it's putting those activities to sleep until you switch back to them again. So only one activity is running at a time. So what you call it doesn't matter. Main activity is good enough for now. The activity is the code that we'll be editing behind the scenes. The layout is the visual arrangement, how it looks on the screen. And the names are pretty much related. It's going to be called activity_main. You can imagine if you had, family activity, you'd have a layout called activity family. So by convention, they match each other in this way. And then we're going to click finish. So I'm going to wait a while. You're going to see this progress bar, and it's going to say lots of complicated things. It's going to be configuring dependencies. It's going to be building Gradle tasks. You don't need to understand what all that means now. Just that it's setting up a skeleton, a simple empty Android project. It does a lot of work for you from scratch, so you don't have to create it yourself. More waiting. And we're done. So this is the project structure of an Android app. There are different directories, and each of those directories has subdirectories. I'll just go through them briefly. Every Android app has a main module, usually called app. And inside of app, you can have manifests, source code, and resources. So a manifest is the smallest one. That just tells you what the properties of your app are, what the name of the app is, what the main activity is, what theme it has. All of this is by default correct. You don't have to change any of this. Later on, if you wanted to do things like add special permissions, when you download a new app, it asks you, do you want to let this app access your phone state? This is where you would request it. But we don't need to do that for our app. It's too simple. But you can tell it has the package name, which is based on your domain up here. For me, it's Business College. Is this big enough, by the way? Should I zoom it up a little more? This is the main activity. This is an XML file. So those of you who know markup, Java and XML go together. Like culturally, people who program in Java really like XML. It looks almost like a web page. It has tags with angle brackets in them. But it's meant to describe document structure. So things that are not code, but things that just need to exist together, configuration information. And this just says the main activity of this app is called main activity. And you remember typing that in or accepting the default on a previous screen. So next is the source code. So this is the actual Java code. You may have heard that Android is written in Java, and you'll have to learn Java in order to program an app. So this is what that means here. And the source code is not the visual part, right? It's a language, just like natural human languages, except it has a very particular syntax. And on top of that syntax, on top of the grammar, there's also conventions. There's also libraries and frameworks. And in this case, the Android framework tells you that we write on activities. So the first thing, the main way you're going to tell an app what to do is to modify an activity. This one's main activity. It extends sort of the basic Android activity up here. And it has one callback method. The callback is, do you know these like newfangled customer service lines where instead of waiting on hold, you give them your phone number and then they call you when they're ready? That's a callback. So most modern frameworks, including Android, are designed this way, where you don't know when things are going to happen, right? You're a busy person. You just want to register with the computer and say, like, look, whenever you're ready, this is what I want to happen. Because you don't have control about when the app runs, right? You just want to know to describe the reactivity, the behavior that happens. So here you're saying, whenever it is that you're going to create the app, this is what I want to have done. So onCreate is a method that you are registering with Android. And when your app starts, it's going to call it. If there's any previous saved state, for example, if you put your app to sleep and woken up again, this is where it reloads stuff, but don't worry about it too much for now. And this line here means that you're going to inflate the layout. You're going to associate this activity with a layout file. All right, that's the source code. It's very simple. And then next there are resources. Resources are things like static images, sounds, strings, styles, basically everything that's not code in your project. And it's arranged in this very specific directory format. So drawable is where we're going to put the graphics of our family later. By the way, I know it was a last minute message, but who has ready access to family photos that you could put into your app today? A few people. Okay. If you don't, you can just use my family photos. I didn't check beforehand with my sister and my nieces whether it's okay, but I'm sure it's okay. Just don't, circulate it widely. Layouts are the visual presentation of the app. So drawable is empty right now because we haven't added the photos yet. This is an XML file. By now, you're pretty used to what they look like. And each of these tags describes sort of a square, a box. And all layouts are basically boxes inside boxes. If you've worked with web pages at all, you're familiar with this model. Everything you see on the web page, no matter how complicated, is just boxes within boxes. This says there is a text box, a text view. View is a special Android word for a box that you can see on the screen. And it's going to say, hello world. By tradition, almost by law, I'm required to teach you how to program your first program to say hello world. And maybe you can do it in different languages, but basically it has to say hello world. And it's inside a relative layout. So relative layout means that all of its children, all the views inside here, you can describe relative to each other. You can say this text is to the left of some other text. Later on, when we insert image views of people, of family portraits, you can say, the mom is going to be to the right of the dad, and the children are going to be underneath. So you can specify one view's components relative to another, and that's what relative layout means. Android Studio also has a nice feature. So some of you who are already more familiar with text editors could do all of this without Android Studio, right? Android Studio is very big. It's very slow in some sense. You had to use a lot of network resources to download it. Why can't you just edit text with Notepad or your favorite text editor? Well, one reason is you get these nice features of visualizing. So here, instead of just describing in text in XML the layout, you can actually see what you're designing. You can say, oh, I want a text view. This is a text view here, and it has the text hello world, and it's inside a relative layout. It's also beneath this menu bar here. FamBam, sometimes called an action bar. That's just the name of the app. And then you can also view over here a tree of components. Right? The device screen is the root. It's kind of the biggest area there is. And inside of it, you can say, I want a relative layout. Remember, relative layout is like a manager that coordinates between a bunch of views to let you say one thing should be to the left of another. And then inside the relative layout, you have a text view. So if something is below and indented, that means it's a child of the previous object. So relative layout is a parent, text view is a child, and text view is inside child. You look like you had a question.
Yeah, where did the action bar?
Where did that get defined?
Like, where did that come from?
Yeah, you get that for free as part of the skeleton app. So it's a good question. You know, what happens if you didn't want an action bar?
It's not in the layout.
It's not in the layout.
Okay.
Yeah, that's something that you specify in the Android combination of the Android manifest, and you have to add special options actually to disable the action bar. But that's a good question. Questions are good, by the way. I know this is still in lecture format, but pretty soon I'm going to have you come up and take a turn at things. So sit in silence and enjoy it while you can, because pretty soon I'm going to force you into some pretty uncomfortable interactions. But uncomfortable for your own sake, right? Learning can be uncomfortable at first, but it ultimately is enjoyable. So those are the three different parts of an Android app. And then I'll say briefly that there are other resources like strings. So every text that you see in your app is actually a string resource here, and you can add new strings. So who can tell me what a benefit is of having string resources rather than just using strings directly in your app?
Globalization.
Globalization, right? You may want to support different languages. You may want to say, I want to use the hello world string, whatever it is in the local app. So if you have a user in India, for example, that downloads the app, they'll get a version in Hindi or Gujarati or whatever their local dialect is. And you don't need to know that. You can just say, use the hello world string. So remember this, we'll come back to this later to add a hello world string. All right. So now I'm going to compile by pressing this play button, and I'm going to zoom out because you don't really need to know what the text says, but it's useful for you to know at a high level what all the different buttons you're supposed to click on. So the green button up here, the play button, is compiling the app and then loading it onto either an emulator, which is basically a simulated phone on your computer screen, or your real phone if it's connected. How many of you brought a real phone, by the way? Yeah, or a real Android device, a tablet, anything. Go ahead and take it out, and if you have a cable, feel free to hook it up to your computer.
There might be some cables that are lost and found, which is a box by the door. Feel free to scavenge in there.
Yeah, thanks, Eileen. So Eileen said there were cables and lost and found by the door. You may be able to find an extra cable. So what it should be is on one side USB, I think this is USB-A, and then micro USB on the other side. And you plug in the USB-A port into your computer and the micro USB side into your phone. And this is the normal charging cable, so it came with your phone whenever you bought it, however long ago that was.
What's the difference between a blank activity and an empty activity?
Yeah, they both seem to imply the same thing. In our case, the blank activity still had a floating action button, which was, a little button at the bottom of the screen that you could push. And then the empty activity has nothing except the action button. Okay, let's see what feedback. Okay, so I plugged in my phone and instantaneously it showed up here and then under the device chooser as a Motorola XT, so on and so forth. And you can tell I'm running API 22, which is Android 5.1, otherwise codenamed Lollipop. You'll notice that a lot of Android features are named after delicious desserts in kind of a goofy way. Even features like messages that pop up are called toasts. So basically everything in Android is designed to make you hungry as you're programming it. But that's why I said API 22 was the minimum for the class, because I'm very self-centered, and I thought, well, that's what my phone can run. That's good enough for me. Should be good enough for you too. But you could have API 23, right? You could have a Marshmallow device, which is Android 6. In which case, feel free to use that. So you can go ahead and choose your connected phone. Just for the ease of people over the internet and for you watching the screen right now, I'm going to choose an emulator. And I already have several created here. How many people don't have emulated devices but want to use one? If you have your own phone, that's the best thing to use. OK, so here's how you create an emulated device. Let me do that again more slowly. So here, if you have no emulated devices, this is going to be an empty drop-down box, right? Yeah. Click on the ... button next to it. And you're going to have, this is where you're going to be able to create virtual devices. And the virtual device simulates some real device. Basically, all of these are supposed to simulate different Nexus phones. So the thing you're simulating is a phone, which has a certain screen size, but you're also simulating a particular API version, a different version of Android, just like if you were running on a real device. So if you don't have one already, let's go down to the bottom and click this button here, which is Create Virtual Device. And your main choice will be what model of phone you want to emulate, but also what the image is. Image is just a fancy word for the picture of the disk. So all the libraries, all the files, the whole Android operating system, which one you want to use. And those are provided to you by Android. Yeah, let me show you again. Here in the device chooser, after you click the play button, if you have an empty list, yeah, play button first. You'll get the device chooser, choose the ... button. Yeah. And then create virtual device here. Okay, and actually here's where at any point mob programming could have started. So I'm tired of talking. I would like to choose a volunteer to come up and click buttons and type things for me. So raise your hand if you volunteer or you want to be volunteer.
Volunteer.
Cool. Thanks. Remind me your name again?
Brett.
Brett. Thanks, Brett, for being our first volunteer. So remember, when you're up here, your only job is to click and type what you're told to. You can have ideas. You can think if you want to, but you're not obligated to, right? Everyone else should come up with suggestions to help them. So.
All right, so what am I doing now?
Just all right, connect. Everyone help Brett. What should he do now? Okay, if he clicks next, he's just choosing the Nexus 5 phone. That's fine. Okay, so this is a list of APIs you can choose from. Based on the prerequisites and the instructions I gave you, API 22 was good enough. So let's choose that. And it doesn't matter which one he chooses. With Google APIs means that you can use things like Google Maps or other special additional libraries that Google provides to you.
We have the option to select Marshmallow.
Was yours an empty box? Okay, so in that case, we are going to, you did not download some images with your SDK, but I can show you how to do that. So Brett, go ahead and click cancel. And close this too. So who knows how to get to the SDK manager from here? I bet someone knows. What's that? Yeah, so there are two things that you are going to download when you had your initial tools, right? The first was Android Studio. What was the other one? Oh, Java was, yeah, three things. Java, Android Studio, and then what else?
SDK.
The SDK. Okay. So now I know you know, I guess, the SDK manager, right?
I just clicked on the link you guys had,
Oh, okay.
but not from. You mean from the actual application?
Yeah, from Android Studio,
Oh.
because it'll often be the case as you're using Android Studio, new things will be released, and Android Studio will prompt you, do you want to download them? And you'll need to know how. So
So under tools.
Yeah.
Click on Android and click on SDK.
awesome.
Right. Push the green first.
I knew someone new in the audience. What's your name?
Rated, but I'm not.
Thanks,
even
mate.
on Android.
That's not a problem. You're caught up. I can come over and help you. Okay, now what next, Megan?
What was it you trying to do again?
We're trying to download images.
What? I don't think
So if it were me, I would click on Launch Standalone SDK Manager. And this would give you more control over what to download or not to download. But you could click on the other tabs too. Okay. So if you click Launch Standalone Manager, you'll get something like this. And now you can see everything that you can or can't download as a package grouped by API. So all the API 23s are grouped here. Beneath it are all the API 22s. Let's concentrate on the 22s. Brett, why don't you scroll down and let's see all the images we can install. So the images you want to pay attention to are here. And so I prefer the Intel images. Remember, the Google APIs means you're using extra features, which we don't care about right now in Google Maps, but you can go back and download those images later. Let's just concentrate on the Intel Atom 64 system image here. And I already have it installed, but you probably don't have it installed, right? Right. So for those of you who didn't get any choice to create a virtual device, this is what you got to do.
So just that one.
Just that one, except since I already have it installed, if you click it, it's going to let you delete it. So I don't want that. That was clearly for
Okay.
illustration purposes. Does anyone else need more help or more time with downloading an image? Remember, an image is just a picture of the files on your phone, right? If we were to copy everything on your phone right now, you could call that an image. You could emulate it, you could imitate it on your computer.
So are you saying that if you, so there's a bunch of different version phones out there with 511 on them, and each one of those have slightly different system images? Is that what you're saying?
That's right. Usually,
So, like if you tested in an emulator on one of those, you would know you would work on certain types of phones, but you wouldn't necessarily work on other types.
yeah, for the widest coverage, if you wrote a professional Android app, you would want to send it to a device farm like Amazon runs right now and test it on a bunch of different images which emulate different phones. But for our purposes, usually you just test it on your own phone with a few friends' phones, and then you call it good. Okay. So Brett, go ahead and cancel out of this. And pick another victim. We'll continue.
All right, who wants to take over?
Oh, you don't ask. You
I tell?
you can pick
A man right here.
next time.
Down the
Welcome, Bill. Thanks for being volunteered.
line. No problem.
So let's switch back to Android Studio with a Command tab. And if you're not a Mac user, that's okay. Good. We're back here. So we still want to compile our program, right? That's our high-level goal. How do we do that? Who remembers what button to click? The play button. So you have to click all the way down on these touchpads to it. You'll hear a click.
There it is.
Yeah, I think that did it. Let's zoom out all the way to see what's happening. I think it's just thinking. Oh, I think we already had a window open.
There's a
Okay, sorry for the glitch. There appears to be multiple windows open that I can't access to get back to Android Studio, so I'm just going to kill it. Normally, you should not do this at home.
Hiding behind it. Stuff hiding behind it.
Yeah, so the window, the device chooser we needed to release the modal interface on Android Studio was hidden, and I couldn't access it, so we're just going to start it from scratch. But Android Studio should be smart enough to start the last project that you're working on. Okay. So the consensus was we're going to click the play button, right? So the green button, that's right. And let's choose the launch emulator. Those of you with a real device, you'll probably want to choose the actual device because it'll be faster and closer to the true performance of your app.
Good.
Yeah, that one.
Careful Nexus.
Yeah. Bring over a chair to make this more comfortable for you.
Oh, we're good.
Sure.
Yep.
It's there if you want.
Thanks.
So you'll see a bunch of grinding and progress bars on the bottom. That's Gradle, the build system associated with Android. It unfortunately is quite slow, but it's the de facto standard in complex Java projects right now. And then eventually you'll see this window pop up here, and it's just as if a real Android phone is booting, right? You'll get this slow gradient animation splash screen. And it'll think slowly. Sea levels will rise and fall, seasons will change, beards will grow, and then it'll start. Yeah. That means that you download And if that doesn't work, there's another emulator called Github. Emulators in general are very slow and tricky. Like it's not just your own problem, it's the whole industry. Okay, so usually when a program crashes, it means there is some API version mismatch. So it could be because we compiled it for 22, and it actually, we ran it on a 23 image instead. But before that happened, you can tell there's an app running and had hello world on the outside. So Bill, go ahead and press OK. Okay, and the launcher was just the built-in app that shows you all the different apps on your phone. It's like a meta app. It's not the app that you're running. So what happened whenever we were compiling our app? It was building Java files into class files. It was packaging them up into what's called an APK. You'll learn more about that later. And then it installed it, copied it, in this case, to another piece of software, the emulator. But if you ran it on your own phone, it was actually copying it over the cable to your phone and running it. Cool. Bill, thanks for your service. Pick a new victim.
Amana Pro.
What's your name?
Ricky?
Ricky. Okay, we'll leave the emulator up for now, but our goal is to add some image views. Let's see how we're doing on time. 12.
Did you want me to leave it up? Leave it up.
Yeah, we'll leave it up for now, just because it was so slow getting started. So back in Android Studio, let's go to the layout, and we want to look at, so go ahead and click on project on that side there. Yeah, and then expand app, and expand res for resources, and expand layout. And don't worry, I know there's a lot of files to keep track of, but over time you'll get to know the general layout of all Android apps. And then double click on the activity main.xml. And what we're going to do is add some image views to it. So you'll wait for it to render. And don't worry about this message for now. What you want to do is click and drag image view over here on this side. So the visual layout editor will let you choose from a palette of options of graphical elements or views, as they're called in Android. And you can drop them anywhere. And then over here on the hierarchical tree view, you can see you have a new image view. And it's a sibling of text view, and they're both children of the relative layout. So both position them relative to each other. So rather than wrap content, which just means they're going to be whatever size it takes to fill up the parent, we're going to set it to be 100 dp.
The height as well.
Yeah, 100 to 100. And now you can click on it, right? It has this definite form, but it's empty. We're going to add an image to that later. Now let's add an image. So the images are going to live in this drawable directory here.
Double click it.
So right click on it, which is 2-finger click on a map or command click. Maybe it doesn't work exactly like that. Okay, so you'll have to copy this directly using Finder.
Okay.
So this part I should do, Ricky, because I know my computer, but hang out. We'll have you come back in a minute.
Here's just the problem.
This is my Finder. And if you're using Windows, you use Windows Explorer, but you'll see the same thing, right? And these are the photos I want to use of my family. So for those of you who already have members of your family you want to use, feel free to use them. But otherwise, I will copy and paste these into Slack, and then you'll see the real advantage of Slack is that you can easily share files with other programmers. So that's my brother-in-law, Nash. He's from Lebanon. He's a tennis instructor. This is my sister, Anne. And then they have two little girls, my nieces, Maria and Nadia. And these were taken several years ago. They're 11 and 10 now, so they're more grown up. So go ahead, with your Slack window open, you'll see in this channel, I'm going to drop in these files one by one. So pretty slick, right? You just drag photos on top of Slack. It knows you want to upload them. So B. Cox asks, any reason why physical phone wouldn't show in the device chooser? And normally, you don't need a separate USB driver, especially not on Mac. If you are using, Brian, if you're using Windows or Linux, you might need to download a USB driver in order to see the phone in the device chooser. Nash looks like Patrick Stewart. I'll be sure to let him know. He'd be flattered. OK, so what you should do with these photos is you should copy them using whatever shell is on your computer, using Finder if you're on Mac, or using Windows Explorer if you're on Windows. And you want to save it into the source directory, the main subdirectory of that, and then the resources subdirectory of that. OK, Ricky, I'll have you come back up, and you're going to help us copy some files.
I'm good.
And everyone else, you can help them decide where to copy it. So remember, this is like you. You're sitting at home at your own computer, and now you see all these images pop up, and you want to save them. So how do you save these images?
To the computer?
Yeah.
To download them?
That's right.
Want me to download them all?
I wonder where it's downloaded. Can you try clicking the ... to see if there are other options? Not for the post, but for the images.
Oh.
Yeah, let's try Open Original.
Sorry.
Scroll up to the top. So you can see what
Oh, that's what it is.
Or just move the mouse cursor to the top of that screen. OK, so you open Original. It opens in the browser. And then how do you save it to your hard drive? Let's two-finger click. Save image as. Here I'll provide you some help because you don't know where things are on the computer, but click source. Keep everything in the source folder. And then scroll down until you see the Fs, and you'll see something called FanBam. Cool. And then here's a test to see if you were paying attention from before. Where should he go?
Gradle or build?
Yeah, I thought it would have been app.
What it is app. So three-finger swipe to the, there you go. So build are files generated as your app is building, but they're not things that you edit yourself, right? They're not something that you version. Source, that's a good suggestion from William. Awesome. Yeah, this is where you save them. Okay, so go ahead and do that with all the files. You can use your own family photos if you have them ready. I cropped mine to 100 by 100 pixels. But otherwise, you're free to use my family. I actually highly encourage you to actually do this. So those of you who are staring at the front, you're probably getting bored right now, right? Because it's Saturday afternoon, you're feeling sleepy because you're not doing anything. So I'll offer and help you. Try the play button. See if you get the hello world app to show up. And after that, you go through the steps. We're going to talk about it. You download the photos. You're all smart. So yeah, more save the files. So you gotta find this problem.
I actually don't know where it is.
So I just copied the files in here. I think it.
It's a sneak one.
Yeah,
Shit. Yeah.
That's the issue I have as well.
But all right.
Actually, tomorrow I can give you emulator doesn't work. Yeah, did it say that it wasn't installed? Oh, it's yeah. So we gotta get. Okay, thanks, Ricky. Can you choose someone else? Yeah.
I'm not
You-
even caught up.
Okay.
I don't have files to copy anything to.
Then Eileen, you're a great choice. You're,
Okay. No, my download took forever. It only just opened.
That's okay. That's further than you were at the beginning of the workshop, right?
That's true.
Good. What's your question?
I'm not stuck on the, like,
Adjusting the image view. That's ahead of where we are. So good job, right? You've already created image views. I'll get to you in a minute. But
no, as in, like, when we initially picked like the image, I can't
okay.
seem to like center like where, like you know how you centered it like it's screen. You can't,
Yeah.
Like it keeps showing up in the left hand corner.
Yeah. Does that mean, were you able to put it inside the relative layout? So Eileen, let's scroll to the right here.
So I'm sorry. What do you mean?
That's right.
Just
Mouse
so that
over
we
there,
can
just
see
go
that
right
part
on
of
the
the screen.
And we'll shift it over.
Yeah, just move the mouse over there. And it'll-
Yeah, just move the mouse cursor to the
Okay.
right of the screen.
Which is my left, right?
Yeah.
Nope,
Yeah.
still your right.
Okay.
There you go. More. You don't have to click anything, just move it.
All right.
More. There you go.
All right.
More.
that way.
More.
All right. Oh, all the
There
way
you
over
go.
there. Okay. Oh, who knew there was stuff over there?
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, so image view should be here in the relative layout next to text view. And once it's in the relative layout, you position it. You should be able to position it anywhere. It shouldn't just be stuck on the left-hand side of the screen.
Yeah.
So, well, I'll come by and help you in a bit. But what we want to do now is create 4 image views and then set their drawable properties to the photos that we just created. So let's help Eileen. How do we create more image views?
More. Just drag it. So go to the other side of the screen again.
Go all the way back over.
Yeah. There you go. And then it says image view in the palette you have right there, in the middle.
In the middle image
Yeah,
view,
right.
there. Yeah. Okay.
I'm guessing we can drag it again.
Okay. Or could we just keep copying the same view?
You can copy the view, yeah. Let's
Okay.
try both ways.
Okay.
We need 4 of them, right? So
Oops. Sorry. We're gonna put it all the way to the right. Right. Right under
you can
there.
put it in the layout too. I don't think it'll drag all the way over.
Oh. Okay.
Yeah, anywhere there.
Really? Anywhere? Because that looks kind of weird.
Yeah. Well, so far no pictures have shown up. So
So it doesn't matter.
okay.
That's fun.
So that's 2 of them, right? How do we get more? Eileen's suggestion was to copy and paste. So how do we do that? Or we can just try what we know works, right? Let's just do the same thing 2 more times. Right, that's 3. That's 4.
Okay.
Great. And I know it's hard to see, but they're there. And we know they're there, right? Because of the tree view on the far right of the screen. Right, so there are 4 views.
Mhm.
Eileen, thanks for your help.
Sure.
Choose another volunteer.
I think it froze.
What's your name?
Nikhil?
Nikhil. Welcome, Nikhil. What we're going to do now is set the drawable properties. So here are all the properties of each image view.
Mm-hmm.
And this is where we set the height and the width, for example. But what we want to do now is set the property of where to get the source image, what to draw on this image. So if you scroll up and down on this side, you should see something called drawable or source. I forget what it's called. I think it's source. Okay, good. So in source, you're going to click this, the property side of it, which is the right-hand side. And you're going to click the ... button, and it's going to show you a list of all the resources in your project that you can choose from. So color is not the right type, but let's look at the project tab over here. And these are all the resources. So keep scrolling down. what we want to do is get to the drawables part. So you've gone too far, but it's in there somewhere. Keep going up. Oh. No, it wasn't any of that. Okay, so those are the views, not quite. There we go, it's possible. You passed over. Those are the drawables. So those are the 4 members. Go ahead and just choose one of them. Gives you a preview there, and then click OK. Right, so now you can see it. And the last thing to do before you go is to set the layout height and layout width, which are also properties, to be 100 dp.
Okay.
Yeah, I actually don't know what dp stands for. I think display pixels, just like a unit of Android display.
So what am I looking for here now?
The layout width and layout height property, and they're at the top.
What are we doing for the width?
100 dp. So thanks, Nikhil.
Mm-hmm.
Choose another volunteer, and we'll just do the same thing for all the other image views.
Okay.
Who did you point to, Nikhil?
Yellow shirt.
Yeah, what's your name? Christian. Come on up. So I'm going to take a lap around the room to help people who are behind, but all of you, please help Christian. What you want to do is do the same thing, but with all the other different family members.
Right-clicked, downloaded them from Slack, and put them in the blog.
Oh, I couldn't find it. Yeah. Oh, it is. It's on.
When I get to the screen, how do I add the actual?
I wasn't paying attention. I would assume there'd be something under properties that would like let you load some type of
file or something.
Okay, everyone, let's help Christian out.
Are there any properties like
What is
way
he
down
trying
there?
to do right now?
Just trying to load a picture into it.
Okay, what property is he supposed to use?
I wasn't paying attention.
SRC.
Answer's over here. What is it?
SRC. Source. It's near the bottom of the list.
So just scroll down.
So you use two-finger scroll on a Mac. There you go. You swipe two fingers without clicking, just up and down. There you go.
There it is, SRC. Click over, you'll get the other,
Click to your right. There you go.
and you get that little button with 3 dots, the ellipsis.
Oh,
You click on that. And you go to project and the little screen that came up. Yeah. I just clicked the triangle to get past it.
you clicked what?
The little triangle next to the color, that'll squeeze them all up,
Oh.
accordion them up.
Here?
Yeah. So now you're at the drawable, and the images are at the bottom of that list.
I had to go find it.
Whoa, you went too far.
Oh. This
Up,
right here. So I opened it and you can find out
Uh,
what it was and drag it to the decimal section.
this next section. Oh,
What?
I said to put all the images in the dropbox, so I'm gonna drop
there they are.
now.
See the Anne Maria, Nadia, and
So
Nash.
that's all there. Huh?
Maria, so pick someone else.
No, I wanted to find where everything was going. Right on, man.
So that's something you can install. So Christian, I only doing one was good enough, and it worked. So two out of 4 family members agree it's better to be displayed than not displayed on an Android app. So Christian, choose someone else.
I
And
choose.
whoever's avoiding eye contact.
In the end. So are there other images on this?
There are.
Okay.
So that's one you want to use. And then there's a source at the bottom.
I was paying attention, so. Who do we have already?
we got-
Anne and Maria.
But we don't have Nadia?
Nope.
Is that all I have to do? Is there another one on here somewhere?
It's that first image view,
Where's it at?
your top right.
You click on
I just swapped it over in the tree.
Oh, this one?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. No one else gonna get the benefit of doing something simple.
Yeah.
Must be hidden behind something.
Hmm.
Someone.
I think you can
Oh, is it behind
kind of
this
move,
one?
yeah, drag him down.
There he is.
Oh wow, you already done it already.
I figured we make someone do something
Yeah, that's your question.
harder.
It just kind of like reset itself. I'm not sure why it's not popping back up. I don't know if that's something you can help with, to be honest, but.
choose someone, Paul?
Yeah, choose someone.
Who hasn't been up over here?
Yeah, so I was just looking at it.
You wanna
So
go?
it just crashed and brought me here, so I don't know how to bring friends back up.
Yeah, let's try choose project. It's like it crashed pretty hard. Probably did not delete everything, but try closing Android Studio completely and then opening it back up. And hopefully it's just a momentary glitch. Hi, what's your name?
Albert.
Albert, thanks for joining us. So Albert, our next goal is, well, we're at the point where we can do something fancy, which is when you click on someone, you want their name to display. So what we're going to do is going to drag a new text view underneath each of these family members.
Okay.
So you can't just clone text view from the menu over on the right?
Yeah, I'm not sure how that would work. Like, or you imagine you could like right click it and copy and paste. Yeah, let's try that. It's a good suggestion from Eileen, Albert.
Okay.
You right
Well, it
click
didn't
on
work
this.
before.
It didn't work
I
before.
was just wondering why.
Yeah, it seems like it should, right? So if you can't, can you try right clicking, which is 2-finger click? You gotta click all the way down to here. There you go. Yeah, let's try copying and paste.
So pasting, wait, oh, right
Probably in the
underneath,
tree.
or not pasting on the actual view here of the
Let's try
device.
both. Yeah,
Okay.
not really sure. Can you 2-finger click there too?
Oh yeah, 2-finger click, right? No.
Yeah.
See it.
How about if I try and copy this little guy here?
Oh, something worked.
Something did work.
Oh,
There,
there it is.
it's there. Okay.
Yeah. So keep doing that
Okay.
once for every family member.
Paul, if I can't get a layout,
Maybe I'll use the
is there
arrows
something
to
wrong?
just move it around.
Good idea. See.
You create a new layout here, but it's not connected to anything. We want to be working with activity main. So double click.
No.
And this is just because you haven't. Yeah.
Ah,
So
that'll
this
do.
is if you change the Android version recently. Yeah, did you create it for API 23 or 22?
522.
Yeah, so let's try. Click on text, so we'll actually the text has a layout. Maybe this one. So
It's actually slow. That's why it's very slow. It takes a while.
yeah, so the coordinator layout, which is this top level layout, it wants a theme.
Oops.
Let's try looking at your manifest. Yeah, so app theme here. Yeah, let's try open data script and look at build.gradle. Well, that all looks fine. Okay, this might require more time.
Okay.
After class, sure. But follow along as best you can.
All right.
What's your
Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't say that. So, I'm looking at actually. You could call it BDD. More along the lines of like so product is like less than a year old and probably
Yeah, so Brett, if you may want to create an empty project or choose,
I think I know what happened.
or choose 22 instead of 23. You know what happened?
Yeah. I think it shows 23 here and then shows 2020.
So
22, so I couldn't have 23.
yeah, that was actually the error on the other side too. So,
So the difficulty is really kind of moving things around is what I find. I've got, there are 4 labels, believe it or not, but they I guess, there must be some sort of a grid thing happening, right? Because the best I can do is like that. And there seems to be the images are connected to each other, or the captions, because watch, shouldn't it just be, I'm a graphic designer, so I'm used to just dragging things, but see, it kind of drags everything else with it. See?
yeah, so you only want to select one thing at a time.
Okay.
And usually there are some rules where they tell you relative to other yeah, they're not on here now, but eventually you can specify, for example, this layout is supposed to be underneath each of these other layouts as well.
Okay.
Yeah. But thanks, Albert.
All right. Shall I pick someone?
No, I'll take over from here. We only have 10 minutes left officially in the tutorial, but if you stay behind, I can help you with any problems that are remaining. What I want to do is to get started generating the APK and show you what it would look like to upload it to the Google Play Store. So here for text views, let's just change the text view to be a name. And instead of hello world, there's a text property. And we'll just change it to my sister's name, which is Anne. And if you zoom in, you can actually see that the text has changed to Anne here. Okay, and then you can also make it bigger if you want, and let's run it on the emulator and see what it looks like. So you'll see messages down here. And when it's finally finished compiling, it's going to run a program called PM, which copies it to the emulator. And then it should show up over here. And it does. So everyone else is still named Hello World. And Albert's a graphic designer, so it's probably drives him crazy that things are not lined up. But eventually it should be, right? This text thing will be under here. And you probably can figure out how to do that now, right? In the layout, you just drag them. And probably the children should be beneath the parents. It's usually how family trees are drawn. And that label should look correct. So since we're so close to the end, please hold your questions. And then if you can, please stay behind. So now what we want to do is generate the APK. The APK is an Android package file. This is the actual extension of the file we generate. And so all of these files right now, there are a lot of directories over here. We actually want to package it all up into one file and then upload it to the Google Play Store. So I'm going to click Generate Signed APK. And I'm going to go kind of fast, so don't worry if you can't keep up, because this is all recorded on video, and I'll send you the link to the video later. Yeah, so maybe I should have mentioned that beforehand in case people got stressed out, but don't worry. No matter how far behind you think you are, you're further than when you started this workshop, which is my goal. You have an idea of what you can do and where you can get to. So a key store, a collection of keys, is how you secure and identify yourself to Google. I've already created a key store. There's a step-by-step ebook that I'll give you, and it'll show you how to create your own key store afterwards.
That's going to be in the recording.
Yeah, that's
You might want to change your passcode after.
I will change my passcode after this. But they actually don't have the physical key file, so what they'd have to do is both steal my laptop and use this password. So okay, so we want to create a release build type. There's debug and release. Debug is useful for pre-release builds for beta testing. But if you want to make it as small and optimized as possible, you'll choose release. Then you'll click finished. Gradle down here will grind again pretty slowly. And then when you're done, a little pop-up message will give you an APK file. So you'll get this, which is called a toast. It'll pop up and you can reveal in Finder, reveal in Windows Explorer, and it'll show you where the file is. So it's this file right here. It's created 454, which is just right now. If you're curious, right, how big is an Android app anyway? It's about 1.2 megabytes, which, it's not small, but it's not huge either. And that's what you're going to upload to the Google Play Store. Because I have all your email addresses, and this is why it's important for you to join the Slack channel, because that's the way I'll contact you later. I'm going to add you as release managers to the Invisible College account. And what that will do is let you upload your own apps for free. Normally you have to pay 25 bucks each to publish on the Google Play Store. But as attendees of this workshop and members of the Invisible College, you get this free benefit, which is that you can release apps for the next few months just to play around and see what's possible. So you'll get that by email. Check your emails after the class is over. So because we're also wrapping up, let me remind you that this is just the first workshop of a bigger course I teach called Robot Heart, because your Android phone is a pocket robot that lives inside your pocket, and it also has a heart. And by taking this class, you're learning more about what makes it tick. So if you're interested in this class and you want to keep learning more, please stay in touch. The class will be in February. And by then I'll have moved to Tucson, but I'll still be close by. And the class will be taught over video chat, which will be even more helpful for me to see everyone's screens and be able to help people. But later when you're at home and you want to repeat these steps, it's at this repository online. I'll paste the link into here. There's a directory called docs, and inside of it is something called session0.md. And again, don't worry if you fell behind. This is a step-by-step list of everything we did, including more than we didn't have time to do, including what to install, the actual packages in the SDK that you want, how to create an empty project, all of these, how to create a new key, how to sign it, accepting an account to the Google Play account. And the main reason why I'm here, which is to look up this link. Okay. And sadly, that link also did not get translated correctly. Let's try to fix that. It's okay, play.google.com/apps/public. You're going to see something similar to this after you accept your invite. These are all the apps that have been published before. Some of these are published by students just like you in the last workshop I taught. So you can create a new application here. We can call this Bam. I'm going to upload the APK. And remember, the APK was the file that we just generated. We're going to navigate to it here, and it's that file, 1.2 megabytes. So there are many different parts to the app. That was just the APK. There's the store listing, which is how it's going to appear in the Google Play Store when you click on it on your phone or when you look at it on a web browser. There's a content rating, so there's also rules regarding whether it's inappropriate content, whether it's kid-friendly. You have to answer a questionnaire. If you want to write apps for money, which I think is a great idea, you have a good app idea. I hope you monetize it somehow, and this is the first step for you to do that. You can set the price there too. There are many more steps that can be done in the next few minutes, but it's doable. I would say it's a 10-minute process. You can upload screenshots and icons for your app just to make it look appealing to people to download. And it takes a few hours, maybe less than that, for Google to approve it. They just have to go through and make sure there's nothing seriously wrong with your app. And then it'll appear on the Play Store. So right now on your phones, you could look at these other apps here. So for example, if you looked up Robot Heart, this is something that Deepak, a student in the previous class, uploaded. You would see it, and it's very simple. It shows Hello World, and you click on it, and the Hello World changes to Goodbye World. So pretty simple, but that's the whole process, right? From the beginning of the class, you started from having nothing, so you didn't even have Android Studio installed on your laptop, and then you learned how to create an empty project, to add some images to it, and then to generate the APK, final project file, and then to upload it to the internet. And that's it. It's very simple, and you can do much more. Obviously, I just scratched the surface, but that's where you're going. So keep that in mind in your journey whenever you decide when you decide you want to take the next step in being an Android developer. So before you go, a few minutes we have left, I would like to ask you to fill out a survey. The if you navigate back to your Slack window, here's a link to the Google form. In a few minutes, this would help me immensely in improving the workshop for future attendees. And then also lets me know more about what you're looking for in an Android class. And there you go. With a little more work, you have a simple family tree app. It's a little more complicated to draw the lines, but it's doable. And then you can show your family. This is what you spend a few hours doing on a Saturday afternoon. So I know you could have spent this doing many other things. It's a busy time of year. I wasn't even sure whether I could anyone would come out. So I'm really gratified that you chose to spend your afternoon with me. So thank you very much.
Thank you.
Any questions? And I currently don't teach iOS, but if there's enough demand, I might branch into it also. There are libraries that target both Android and iOS, like Cordova and Ionic. Yeah, and so that would be the easiest way to get started. But in terms of developing like purely native iOS apps, that's not something I do right now. Yeah.
Thanks.
Yeah, you're welcome. Yeah.
You say you had to download something to get the studio to work with your phone?
You too. Hey, wait, before you are,
I can't even think about it. So,